Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Ms. Garner.
Present.
Ms. McDonald.
Here.
Mr. Etheridge.
Here.
Mr. Horvath.
Here.
Mr. Kovach.
Present.
Mr. Cudley. Here. Ms. McDougal.
Present.
Mr. Baca. And Mr. Wolf.
Here.
All right, thank you. Is there anything that council would like to reconsider of a prior action? All right, seeing none, I'll ask for an adoption of the, motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to approve the minutes from September 28th. Any additions, corrections? Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Etheridge.
Here.
Ms. Garner.
Yes.
Ms. McDougal.
Abstain.
Mr. Horvath.
Yes.
Mr. Kovach.
Abstain.
Mr. Cudley.
Yes.
Ms. McDougal. Yes. Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
Okay, those meeting minutes are approved. We have a guest this evening, Mr. Jonathan Harris with, he's the branch manager of the Aurora Memorial Public Library. Jonathan, come forward, please. And how are you, Jonathan?
Doing well.
Good.
Okay. My thanks to the council for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. As mentioned, my name is John Harris. I'm the branch manager of the Aurora Memorial Library. I'm going to start by saying that as a public employee, I'm not allowed to do campaign-related work while on the clock. Lucky for me, it's my day off. So, realizing that I haven't been here in a little while, I'd like to give you an update on what the library's been doing recently. There we go. This spring, with the help of the Aurora schools, we signed up every first and second grader for a library card. It's about 400 children who now have free access to educational materials through our library system. We've taken our pop-up library service to farmers markets and festivals in Aurora and throughout the county. Our summer reading programs here in Aurora routinely brought in an average 200 people to the library every week. Over the past month, I've watched our reference staff answer questions ranging from helping an elderly patron learn how to use her Kindle to helping a young man fix the brakes on a 35 Chevy. Those are two examples of the services that our department provides, as varied as the 32,000 reference questions answered in our libraries last year. Those are some good numbers. I'm here to tell you this evening that they can be better. This year, we've had to start waiting lists for preschool story times because with one employee in the department running 3 story times a week, we don't have the staffing to meet the demand. We can fix that. After the last round of budget cuts from the state, we had to drastically reduce the hours we were open. We can fix that too. The Friends of the Aurora Memorial Library graciously donate funds to the library system so that we can buy books. These are funds that in most other libraries would go to children's and adult programming. And while we're making comparisons here, we went ahead and ran the numbers for per capita revenue of the libraries in this area. Hudson brings in $130 per year. Twinsburg follows at $111. Geauga is right around $99 per year. Portage County District Library brings in $19.43. Those are the kind of numbers that, if you heard them about your child's school, would make you start looking for movers. We can fix this, but we need everybody's help. Issue 26 is a $1 million, 5-year levy that allows the Portage County District Library to restore hours, restore staffing, and restore program and materials budgets. It allows us to better serve both Aurora and the rest of the county by giving us the ability to expand services into the 4 school districts that are currently underserved. $35 a year for a home appraised at $100,000. 10 cents a day. If you scale that up to a $250,000 house, it still comes out to less than a cup of Starbucks a week. It allows us to give the 400 children in Aurora who just got their first library card and the children across the county, 6,500 of whom live in poverty, access to the library that they need and the library that they deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Wolf?
Yeah, I just wanted to
Mr. Harris.
I just wanted to thank you. My oldest was one of those second graders, and he came home so proud with his card, and has been back up several times, and thinks it's just the coolest thing.
We've been happy to see them.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Mayor's report. Mayor?
Thank you very much. I might let you know it's not on the agenda.
Yes, I just heard that. But you're here, so you might as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. First, regarding some legislation you're going to have before you tonight. As we plan and evaluate the future potential development of Aurora, we continue to review Aurora's zoning code and its likely impact on various areas around town. As part of this ongoing review, the Planning Commission approved a size limitation to buildings in commercial areas at its meeting last week, and that legislation has come to council today. There is no size limitation currently. You will be setting a public hearing on that legislation, and while that legislation is pending, the city seeks to implement a moratorium on the submission and acceptance of commercial applications, much like what was done during the pendency of the design standards for Geauga Lake. This is to allow the appropriate consideration of the size limitation and to protect the integrity of our community in the interim. I would appreciate your support of that moratorium. I would like to also comment on the Family Fun Center. I continue to receive calls and correspondence from citizens regarding the proposed project on 43 across from Aurora Farms, and I have responded to more than 200 letters and emails on this issue. This is not a city project, and I do not support the project at this location. However, the property owners who have submitted the project for consideration are proceeding through the appropriate processes as they seek to obtain the necessary approvals. They have every right to proceed through these processes, just as citizens have the right to comment on their concerns. Good news. It was announced last week that Aurora will receive more than $31,000 from the statewide road salt settlement. And I want to make sure to thank the service director and the law director and all the others who were involved in pursuing that collection for us. There will be a tour of the stream restoration work at the former Aurora Golf Course this week. Aurora citizens are invited to tour the stream restoration work at the former club on Wednesday, October 14th at 5:30 p.m. Those interested should meet in the parking lot off of Trails End, and if there is inclement weather, we will meet in the maintenance building there on the property. Trick or Treat is scheduled for Saturday, October 31st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And finally, since our last meeting, I've continued to meet with staff and residents regarding stormwater issues and the Stantec study. I have also communicated with many residents regarding the Family Fun Center, as I mentioned, and I had a long conversation with the school board president on the topic as well. Additionally, I met with representatives from Aurora Raptors, ABL, and 3 new residents who recently moved to Aurora. I also facilitated a conference call with Fitch Ratings, along with the finance director, law director, and financial consultant, Matt Stuzinski. This is our periodic surveillance or update of our Fitch ratings, and we should know in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any comments or any questions for the mayor at this point? All right, seeing none, Law Director's report, Mr. DePiero.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just 2 items I'd like to comment on. The first is with regard to the drone legislation 215-113, or the ordinance that's known as the drone legislation. I'm just going to ask council to hold this ordinance for one more meeting. I've been working with Mr. Wolf on a couple of small, and the chief on a couple of small amendments, but it will be ready to be passed at the next regular meeting. In addition to that, if you recall, you passed a resolution requesting the county municipal court to allow the city to proceed with a parking violations bureau ordinance. We've received the consent of the administrative judge to proceed. We have drafted legislation to introduce at the next meeting, and that'll be introduced at COW at the next meeting for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the law director at this time? All right, seeing none, you have a copy of the council president's report in front of you. Council is asked to please support a motion to add the following ordinances to tonight's agenda. Ordinance 2015-126, the K-9 contract. Ordinance 2015-127, the easement agreement. 2015-128, the building moratorium. The first two ordinances were discussed earlier tonight at the Committee of the Whole meeting. Also, I ask the council support a motion to amend the agenda by adding to item 14, an executive session to consider the employment of a public employee, and no action will be taken.
So moved.
Let's first start with 215-126 to 128.
So moved.
Okay? We have a move and second to add those three to our tonight's agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion's carried. And item 14, executive session.
Still moved.
We have a move and second to add to tonight's agenda the executive session to consider a public employee. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carried. All right, brings us to citizens' comments. Any citizens wishing to comment on anything on tonight's agenda, please come forward. You will have 5 minutes to talk on anything on tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Justin White, 90 Kingston Drive, Aurora. I'd like to comment on 215-107 ordinance for the tax abatement for ABR management.
Yes.
So obviously, I would hope the city does not approve it. But more than anything, I'd like to encourage you guys to provide some kind of oversight to the planning commission. So I was at the initial public hearing for this, and my opinion is this should have already gone to the kind of decision to approve or decline the application.
I need you to stay right on task with the abatement.
Okay. So for the abatement, again, based on the current zoning of that property and where it's been proposed, I would think that it would not be approved, and I think the abatement then would follow and would also not be approved.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Mazzaro?
Mr. Horvath, members of the council, my name is George Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. Going over to 122, if you look through the bids received, they're all about $1,300,000, except for one, and it went to $1,798,000. As I tried to explain to the council last week in reference to the specifications, this is why you have specification and this is why you have bids. People read them differently, but the specification is all the same for all the bidders. And one bidder decided he was going to go all out and hope nobody else bid. But this is a good example of what I was speaking about. Mr. True gave you a discussion last council meeting in reference to the one bid I was complaining about. The fact is that, the engineer should know exactly what is the specification of each and every bid that goes out from the city. And I think that did not happen on the other one that Mr. True was talking about. On 123, you heard me speak of this on more than one occasion. $24,000, again, proposal in violation of the trust that citizens have put into you as council and administration, going out for proposal instead of for bids. And I wonder what excuse we're going to use this time. I know the next bid up is $38,000, but did they have the same specification? We don't know that. You may say they did, but we don't know that unless it's a legal bid going out. But I have a serious, serious problem with this. Again, it's a slap in the citizen's face in the processing of going out for bids on this item. You remember it was $16,000, and then they withdrew it, and now it's $24,000. Maybe next week you're gonna withdraw it and then turn around and charge another 8,000, who knows? On 125, I assume this is from the Planning Commission. It doesn't say commission, so what it says from planning, I assume is a department. And the question is, where did this come from? And on what authority is it here? What are the questions being raised on the floor area within these areas? And this is the only one that's going to be changed? You can go through your planning book and you can see 100 changes that you need. And one of them is don't build any more than 10 houses without a large retention basin. But we don't want to talk about things like that because that takes land away from the developer. But the point, what I'm saying to you is we continue making these type of comments, you know, and not having the total picture in front of you saying why we are doing this. Before you make a decision, I assume you are knowledgeable of why this is being brought to you. I don't think anything's been presented to you at this point why it's being brought to you. On 128, building moratorium. Again, you need to look at the total operation. What we're doing here is slapping in the face a contractor or developer who wants to build for commercial or industrial, and we're slapping in the face, say we got a moratorium. Believe it or not, you're not in a position as a city to put this type of thing on a moratorium. For years, the 20-some years I've been here, you've been begging people to get down. Even Jack does a job go out there trying to get people to come into this community. And when this word gets out that you're having a moratorium, you're going to turn a lot of people off. I understand you need some changes to be made, but we can do that without a moratorium. But some people are trying to move in, and when they hear that sign moratorium, it puts fear into their minds, and they back off very quickly. Believe me, I know that. That's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, Ms. Januska, do you want to respond to 127? Or are you prepared, or you want to wait for the public hearing? That is the dwelling floor area.
128.
Oh, I'm sorry, 125.
25. Yes, this was, as we look closer to the update for the master plan coming up, we see quite a few areas that we'd like to change and with a vision for the city, and this was one of those first steps to help in planning a more friendly village atmosphere. And we brought this to the Planning Commission's attention and went through the planning process, and they have moved it forward to council.
Mr. DePiero?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I was involved in the discussions on that particular ordinance that came before the Planning Commission, and then I would say, a companion ordinance, obviously, in 125, the moratorium. The moratorium only would be necessary until this legislation were to be put in place. And the reason for that is that if an application was filed before the new restriction was put in place, then the new restriction would not take effect. So what this is doing is it is putting the brakes on for roughly a 8-week period or so to allow for council to consider the new recommendation from Planning Commission and to potentially have the public comment on it, because there is a public hearing, and then put it into law. So what it is doing, it's actually protecting the public from maybe an unforeseen circumstance. So it is very short in nature. If you compare I believe we had a 9-month moratorium on the mixed use. This is, could have been a year. I think it was 9 months. This is relatively short, and it's for very good public policy.
Thank you. All right, any comments from council? Ms. Grandillo?
Yes, thank you. Just to sort of piggyback on what Dean just said, the code 1155.07 had a huge chart of floor dwelling area for homes. It did not take into consideration areas zoned C1 or C2. This does not affect the industrial area. This is for our C1, C2 properties. Planning considered it. We were all quite amazed that there was no limitation at all, and it passed. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Barner?
Thank you, Councilman Horvat. And I'd just like to add, I think it's just doing our diligence and being proactive and taking things a little bit more cautiously and slowly before we make a decision and moving forward and building in our city. So I definitely think it's a great idea that we're doing this. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll get into tonight's agenda. Ordinance number 2015-107 is from the Committee of the Whole and it is postponed on 9/28. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a community reinvestment area, CRA, agreement with ABR Management LLC for a 75% 15-year abatement of real property taxes in accordance with the provisions of the city's community reinvestment area known as CRA2, adopted by ordinance 2004-186, amended by ordinance 2011-88, and declaring emergency in order for the property owner to obtain financing and begin construction as soon as possible, and this will remain postponed.
Move to postpone.
Second.
We have a move and second to postpone. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Ms. Grandillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovac?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-107 has been postponed. Ordinance 2015-113 is from Grandillo, Kovac, and Horvat, and Wolf, I'm sorry. It's an ordinance enacting a new chapter 622, flying model aircraft of codified ordinances, the city of Aurora, and the mayor's asked for a postponement.
Second.
We have a move and second to postpone. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovac?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Grandillo?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-113 is postponed. Ordinance 2015-118 is from the Committee of the Whole, and it is on second reading. It's a resolution submitting to the electors of the city the question of a renewal of an existing .9 mil tax levy for general construction, reconstruction, resurfacing, and repair of streets, roads, and bridges in the city of Aurora and declaring an emergency. This will go on to third reading. Ordinance 2015-121 is from the Committee of the Whole, and it is on second reading. It's an ordinance accepting the proposal of and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with B&C Communications in the amount of $9,370 for Phase 2 of the Police Department in-house radio system upgrade, taking the necessary funds from the Capital Improvement Fund number 60 and declaring emergency to provide uninterrupted emergency communications, and the administration has asked for suspension.
Move to suspend.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is carried.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Any comments from the public on 121? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Grandillo?
Abstain.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovac?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-121 is adopted. Ordinance 2015-122 is from the Committee of the Whole, and it is on first reading. It's an ordinance selecting the bid of and awarding a contract to Rudzik Excavating Incorporated for the 2015 Shawnee Trail Water Main Replacement Project as the best responsive and responsible bidder, rejecting all other bids, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Rudzik Excavating Incorporated in the amount of $1,280,463.63, taking the necessary funds from the Water Fund number 70 and the City Operation Fund number 52, and declaring emergency, and this will go on a second reading. Ordinance 2015-123 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance accepting the proposal of and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Parent Asphalt in the amount of $24,000 to complete the Kiwanis Moore Park Path paving project, taking the necessary funds from the Capital Improvement Fund, or Capital Improvement Public Space Fund number 63, and declaring an emergency to complete this project before the winter season, and the mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion's carried.
Move for adoption.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Mr. Mazzaro?
Horvat, members of the council, my name is George Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. Again, why did we only go out for proposal rather than bid? And two, are these paths really needed? And three, are these paths going to be closed at 9 p.m. as the rest of the play area is going to be done? Or are citizens going to be able to use them to go to the various different businesses in the community?
Thank you. Mr. Kraus?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. This project initially started where we were just going to do the baseball field path. It's currently asphalt grindings, and we wanted to improve the park by just putting a top coat of asphalt. We went out for proposals because the price was a little bit above the $10,000 requirement, but because of bid bond and performance bonds that are in the bid packet, those are typically just added to the price. So in an effort to keep the best price and the price down, we went out for proposals. We understand that that needs a supermajority vote, I believe, instead of majority, since we did that. But we brought that forward to the Committee of the Whole. At that time, the discussion or some comments were made about also adding the new path that was added from the parking lot expansion. So we came back now, and this is now paving both of those paths. We talked to 3 different companies that have done work before and done quality work. We got 2 proposals back. They both were given, or all 3 were given the same specifications. So we are recommending Parent Asphalt. They have done work before. They've also done quality work. They have the equipment necessary to do it. They also have the time available to do it before the winter season ends. And so we're asking for $24,000 for the paving of these paths.
Thank you. Seeing no more citizens? Oh, Mayor? Sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to add that you'll recall the delay the last time when this came before you the first time at another amount was because council had a lot of questions about why not pave the additional path that we just put in off the expanded parking lot as well. Well, doing that created the need to look at the drainage issues again, which our engineer had to do before we could go ahead and move forward with paving it, paving that additional piece. So that's why we had the delay in the interim. And secondly, the additional prices because we're paving an additional part of the path that council had asked us to look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no more questions from the public, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Hattrick?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
No.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Grandella?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-123 is adopted. Ordinance 2015-124 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance approving a change order from Hummel Construction in the amount of $5,432 for the Sunny Lake Park Improvement Project, taking the necessary funds from the Capital Improvement Public Space Fund number 63 and declaring an emergency as payment needs to be made to the contractor for work already completed. The mayor's asked for suspension.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Move for adoption.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Grandella?
Yes.
Mr. Hattrick?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2015-124 is adopted. Ordinance 2015-125 is from planning, and it is on first reading. It's an ordinance amending section 1155.07, dwelling floor area of Aurora codified ordinances regarding minimum and maximum floor area restrictions for residential and commercial buildings. This is on first reading, and we need to schedule a public hearing for November 16th at 7 o'clock.
So moved.
We have a move and second to have the public hearing. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ms. Rindle?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2015-125 will go on the second reading. Ordinance 2015-126 is from the Committee of the Whole and is on first reading. It's an ordinance accepting the proposal of and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Excel Canine Services Incorporated, substantially in the form attached hereto, for the purchase and training of a police canine in the amount of $11,800, taking necessary funds from the general fund number 1 and declaring an emergency in order for the training to be completed so the canine can be available for active service as soon as possible. And the mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? That motion's carried.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Chief, since you were not here before for Committee of the Whole, would you like to talk about this a little bit or no? Thank you.
Yes, members of council, Mr. President, this is a contract that we had engaged in Excel Canine Services with out of Hiram. A lot of the funds are donated, but because they're donated funds, we put them into the general fund, and then we have to pay it out of the general fund. So the Rotary's been gracious enough to donate, I think approximately $7,800, and between that and private donations and some ongoing fundraisers, we anticipate a large portion of it, if not all of it, will be covered by donations. The contract's just coming now because Mr. DePiero had to review it, and we weren't really satisfied with some of the things in it, so we had Excel Canine Services amend it slightly, and then they just got it back to us this week. So we're moving forward with that.
Thank you. Okay, any questions or comments from the public on 2015-126? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Ms. Rindle?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-126 is adopted. Ordinance 2015-127 is from the Committee of the Whole, and it is on first reading. It's an ordinance accepting an easement substantially in the form attached hereto from West Garfield Limited for the purpose of constructing a sidewalk in accordance with the city's connectivity plan and declaring an emergency in order to complete the project prior to the winter season. The mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion's
Move
carried.
to adopt.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Mr. Mazzaro?
Corvette, members of the council, my name is George Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. On the easement, why is the easement being qualified? Is it something that means we're putting cement down on somebody's property, and is that somebody going to take care of that property after we put it down? So if the easement is, you're declaring that you're demanding that you put a sidewalk there, are they going to maintain it? And that's the problem that I'm running into.
Thank you. Mr. DePiero?
Mr. President, we've talked about this on a couple of occasions, but for the benefit of council and the public, when the connectivity plan was planned, the engineering was completed, and generally there is right-of-way that extends beyond the road where a city can lay utilities and build sidewalks and basically have infrastructure. The issue with Route 82 in that area, and many areas of the city we're finding out, is that the city does not have a right-of-way. And that's because of when the roads were platted many, many years ago, they did not, I don't want to say it wasn't done properly, but there was not right-of-way that's available. So because of that, we cannot just go on the property and build the sidewalks. We actually have to get an easement from the property owners in order for us to build the sidewalk. So that's what we've done on several occasions. The easements indicate generally that the property owner is to maintain it. So they have to remove snow from the sidewalk. They have to fix any minor problems. But if the sidewalk needed to be replaced, that would be on the city, according to the easement, because it's our easement.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Seeing none, Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
And Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-127 is adopted. Ordinance 2015-128 is from the mayor, Grandillo, and Hatteridge. It's an ordinance declaring a moratorium until December 31st, 2015, with respect to the submission and acceptance of plans or applications and the issuance of permits for the development and redevelopment of the areas known as C1 Shopping District and C2 Commercial Shopping District, as defined in Chapter 1151, Zoning Districts and Zoning Maps of the codified ordinances of the City of Aurora, and providing for exceptions to the moratorium and declaring emergency, and the mayor's asked for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and second to suspend. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a move and second to adopt. Any comments from the public? Mr. Mazzaro?
Overhead members of the council, my name is George Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. Again, I would caution council, this is a very serious implication in reference to development coming into this community, and you've been begging for it for 20-some years, and now we're going to go into moratorium. Why don't we say we're going to look at all the planning and development of this community rules and regulations so we can turn around and no longer have 20 houses being built without a retention basin? We've forgotten about that. We turn around and talk about floor space. We've forgotten about that. You know, why are we trying to control something that you really didn't control for the last 20 years? A good example is Street Road. Did you look at it lately? They're going to jam, condos over there like they never did before. And tell me, how many of you know there is a retention basin in that location? Thank you. You know the one over there?
Please. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We're going to try to control some of these things because there's a new mayor, and I care about the way Aurora looks. Last year, our great objective was Geauga Lake. We succeeded in getting that area rezoned to something that I think will be much more acceptable to the city. And not only that, our planning, zoning, and building department spent months developing design standards for that area. This is part of a vision that I bring to this city. I have had many conversations with the planning, zoning, and building director about how we need to envision what we want in Aurora and what our current zoning code would provide. She is in the process of reviewing the entire code and is also drafting design standards to apply more extensively across the city. In the interim, however, to protect our residents and to protect our beautiful community, I think it is absolutely imperative that we take action on certain issues as we become aware of them. And one issue that we became aware of that is of concern to the planning, zoning, and building director and to me is the fact that there is no limitation on the size of commercial buildings. And you look around our center of town and some of the vacant land and what might go there, I think we need that limitation. Thus, you have that ordinance from Planning Commission. And therefore, while that ordinance is pending, and it won't be real long, while it is pending, I think it is in the best interest of this city and of our residents to have a moratorium so that on such commercial applications until that provision is hopefully adopted by council. The applications that are in the process are grandfathered. We are not impacting those. We are merely looking at the potential of new applications while council and the public consider this size limitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Grandello?
Yes.
Mr. Haffey?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Ms. Bonner?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-128 is adopted. Brings us to citizens' comments. Anyone who would like to comment on anything in general, you will have 2 minutes. Anyone? Ma'am?
Kristen Wilson, 55 Yorkshire Drive. I would like to voice my concerns over the proposed zoning variance for ABR's management's proposed business at 580 South Chillicothe Road. ABR has named their business Make Believe and built a Facebook page on October 8th. When building a Facebook page, you can select the type of business you are. ABR is seeking a comparable zoning of a gym or a racket club to the existing O1 office building zoning. Places like the YMCA list themselves as gyms and fitness centers, as does Planet Fitness. The Wow Factory that the developers have referenced several times call themselves an arcade. And do you know what Make Believe identifies themselves as? They're a theme park. Just like our friends at Walt Disney World. They are a theme park. I did ask myself if perhaps these folks aren't familiar with building a Facebook page, so I did a little more homework and found 2 pages linked to their property management business, so I think it's safe to say that they do know what they're doing. I don't believe we would provide a comparable zoning to a Walt Disney location on this property, nor should we put Make Believe a theme park. I wasn't going to make any statements beyond zoning this evening, but a situation occurred during this meeting that's quite upsetting and disheartening. Just moments ago, Make Believe publicly blamed the schools for selling the property, thereby creating this situation, and suggested that the schools buy it back. They are also using scare tactics by suggesting other types of businesses that could go in there, if not their business. There are many citizens who also want a family village atmosphere, not a theme park. Or frankly, and it's disheartening that we would do business with anyone that would publicly conduct themselves in the manner that I've shared. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Now you can.
Justin White, 90 Kingston Drive. First, I'd like to second the proposed moratorium that the city is proposing. I think it's a good thing. I think the city needs to take a step back and look at all of the zoning ordinances and a long kind of term look for Aurora and how we develop. The second I'd like to comment, so you guys all received a letter I wrote to you kind of outlining my concerns with the ABR project. Very clearly in the city ordinances, I think if you read through conditional permitted uses, the way that land is zoned, it is not appropriate. Further, there's a memorandum that was sent to the Planning Commission from Thomas Reitz, who was an advisor to the Planning Commission back in 2011, also walking through how to appropriately do comparable use and permitted use. And if you walk through that document, it's very clear that this property is not zoned correctly. So it's unfortunate to developers, but my larger concern is how it's gotten to the point where it's gotten. The mayor made a comment tonight that she's responded to over 200 citizens' requests. There are Facebook messages going back and forth between citizens and developers. This is a little crazy. So my comment is, I would encourage the Planning Commission from City Council to please vote on this at the next meeting, and please just reject this. This is very clear that this is not appropriate and should not be an approved application for the CZC.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
My name is Charles Kane, 120 Kingston Drive. I apologize for being late and being scrubby. I was teaching kids soccer next door. I'm not going to jump on top of everything everybody else has said, but Justin's absolutely right. This whole thing with ABR, A, has gotten out of control. B, the fact that somebody looking to invest that kind of money, in our city and this and that to conduct themselves in the way that they have, in terms of complete lack of transparency, at least from what I think, I too was alerted to kind of the Facebook thing. I mean, let's be real, we all live in that age. And if you don't have one, I'm sure you've seen one. Businesses can create a Facebook page. You can advertise to targeted people. You can boost posts and do different things to hit the markets that you want. They did create a page indicating it was for the people of Aurora and to have communication and whatnot. I know personally, I tried to engage in a back and forth conversation and asking questions. I tried to be polite and intelligent, looking for intelligent responses. I know a number of these ladies did as well. All of our comments were deleted within 15 minutes, and all of us have been banned from the page. And I know you can do that because I run a business. We have a Facebook page, and occasionally we block and delete people's comments, you know. But this whole thing has gotten out of control. The way that they conduct themselves, and again, the scare tactics, the comments that they've made, they called us all opinionated. I'm glad that you mentioned a vision of what Aurora should look like and that the mayor is interested in that. I can't possibly imagine the mayor with an interest in Aurora and our beautiful city envisions fun and stuff in front of our elementary school. I don't know what part of anybody's vision of beauty for Aurora that would be. Totally wrong place. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Mazzaro?
Mr. Horvath, members of council, my name is Jordan Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. First of all, let me remind you how many times I've said to you that you go to the U.S. Forestry Department and you get all the trees you want free. They'll deliver them, no charge, and all you have to have is a tree planting machine, which is very simple. You can plant 1 million trees instead of paying $350 for buying trees out there to plant them. But I've said that so many times, who knows, who cares? I have a problem with the executive session. What legal authority is there to go into executive session? Is this legal information you're talking about? You say you're in there negotiations with another authority? So I'd like to know what legal authority there is to go into executive session to discuss this. Two, we have, if I recall correctly, and somebody on council probably can help me, if you remember, we were supposed to have a medical building on Route 43. And the reason why it didn't come here, and that would bring in millions and millions of dollars of income tax. The reason why it didn't come here, you had a height limitation, which is fine. Now we're calling a moratorium. And I really care less what the mayor says. She's a new mayor. She was on council for 2 years prior to being mayor for 2 years. And she lived in this community for how many years? And I don't remember her coming here at any of the council meetings talking about the things she's talking about now. So I'm saying to you that the moratorium is not in the best interest of this community. It should be done very quietly and very intelligently. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ma'am?
Hi, I'm Missy Maxwell, 36 Lexington Way. I just wanted to comment that we are also receiving letters from the developers regarding a meeting for this facility at the Bertram on October 28th. They also have people commenting on their Facebook page asking if the city will be putting in a pool. They think that this is a city community project. And also that I agree with all the comments made by the community this evening. It is simply not zoned for this, and again, I would hope this will not go through. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ma'am?
Hi, Anna White, 90 Kingston Drive. I also want to speak to the ABR management
What is your
proposal.
address again? I'm sorry.
90 Kingston.
Thank you.
I talked to Robin Palumbo she's the owner of Western Reserve Racket and Fitness Club, which they're saying they're comparable to a racket or a health facility. She spoke to membership at her facility, saying there's about 3,000 to 3,500 members at any given time, and that 95% of the visits from to her facility are from members. So you have about, and then if not, they're from other clubs. So you have about 5,000 people maybe coming in and out of Western Reserve Racket Club. And ABR management has said that they're going to have 139,000 visitors from Northeast Ohio who are not members, who are public people coming right in front of our schools. And this does not seem like it's comparable use. Also, I just wanted to note that a racket or a health club would be serving adults, and this facility would be serving, it used to be 4 to 14-year-olds. They've changed it to 1 to 12-year-olds. So it's not even the same demographic. So I just wanted to alert council of that, because ultimately it's going to be in your hands, after it goes to Planning Commission, it's going to come to you for approval or appeal, so you should be aware of these things. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll go on the council. Ms. McDougall? Okay, sorry. Yeah, Mr. DePiero?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to address a couple of questions or comments that have come up from the law department's concern. First of all, with regard to the executive session, within the last 5 years, the open meetings law has been amended to allow for executive session for economic development agreements. I'll get you a copy of it. It's listed in the Attorney General's handbook, and it's a newer amendment, probably over the last 4 years, so I can get that for you. With regard to our office has had some calls with regard to the Family Fun Center and the process. And let me just remind, if I could, just from a legal perspective, council members and the public, just some basic tenets with regard to due process. I know we all know about that, but I've been a lawyer for 20 years, much of it in municipal law, and dealing with the administrative process. It can be boring at times, but I guess I'm a junkie and I read a lot of the cases that go through the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court and through the federal courts. And they deal with constitutional law, administrative law, especially when you're dealing with property owners, whether it's this property owner or any other property owner. Our code, like most codes, has a process that is set up to make sure that applicants, property owners, have the right to present applications, to present ideas, to, in this particular case, present their application. As a city and as elected and appointed officials, we have an obligation to allow them to go through that process. And in fact, to help facilitate that process, to make sure that their property rights aren't being violated by elected officials. I read case by case of cities' decisions being overturned at trial levels, appeals levels, and Supreme Court. And some of the phrases the courts use are the Planning Commission or the board or the council failed to follow administrative procedures. Therefore, we reverse the actions of that board. The Planning Commission or the City Council abused their discretion and didn't hear all the evidence or didn't consider all the evidence. The Planning Commission or the City Council did not fully allow the applicants an opportunity to present their case. Therefore, we reverse and remand. So I think it's important, although I know we want to bring this to a vote. It is important that the applicants be given the opportunity so that we protect the process, that they be given that opportunity. At this juncture, they've only had one hearing at the Planning Commission. They've been asked to provide additional information so that the Planning Commission can fully consider their application and make a decision based upon facts, and not emotion, but facts, and what our laws and our zoning says. So I think it's fair to say the elected officials understand and do hear the community, but I would just caution the appointed elected officials that any applicant, whether that applicant is this applicant, they need to have their opportunity to present their case before making a decision, or else we do so at our peril. So I would just caution members of council and the public to that, and just ask for patience in letting the process go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll get to Ms. McDougall.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to thank each of you that came out tonight. It's good that you're a part of the process, that you're communicating what's on your mind. We've gotten lots of emails and letters, and this is all what local government's about. Second, I'd like to thank our arborist and the mayor for what's being done in our neighborhood to control the trees we talked about earlier that are taking over by cutting the roots. And finally, November 7th is citywide rake-a-thon for our seniors. I know Rotary's a big part of that. We've got some members of council, some scouting groups, church groups, school groups that are participating, but anybody is welcome to participate. We will be raking leaves for some of our senior citizens who find it kind of difficult to do so. So if you'd like to participate, get in touch with me or Rotary, and we'd be happy to have you be a part of that. And that's, again, November 7th. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cudley.
Thank you, Mr. Horvat. On behalf of the Aurora High School Alumni Association, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that they have their induction ceremony this Friday at 11 o'clock is a meet and greet, and then a luncheon, and then the inductees. This year, they're honoring Dave Edmonds from the class of 75, Jeffrey Jewett from the class of 66, and then two staff members, Donna French, who passed away last year, and then also Shirley Duvall. So the City Council and the administration is invited to this awards program. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barner?
Thank you, President. I as well really appreciate the comments tonight and taking the time out of your schedule. They're definitely listened and heard from us here. I did want to comment on the ordinance for ZR 127 regarding the easement. I'm thrilled. I've gotten so many emails of the sidewalks going on, so I know that that is a huge initiative for everybody who's seen connectivity. So we could only be more excited for more of the sidewalks coming along. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll see that continuing along here. And lastly, in regards to Kiwanis Moore Park, the ordinance 123 regarding the paving, I am very excited that the baseball field path will be paved due to a lot of the elderly people who had difficulty getting to the baseball field, so this will obviously make the access easier. I did wanted the comment answered from a recent speaker regarding the time of how long the path will be open. Will be open till 9 p.m. if that's hopefully answered as well. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hatridge?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Timing's everything, I guess, about the tour of the stream restoration work at the golf course. I was fortunate enough to tour that facility last Thursday in a Kubota. That would be the last time I go in a Kubota. That's like a four-wheel thing, you know. My chiropractor thanks you very much. So I was really shocked when I started going to the old golf course. As a public playing person there, I kept on trying to find out, where am I? Is this 15? Is this 10? Is this 9? And Bill Fellenstein had me all discombobulated, okay? But first thing I noticed, besides everything being grown and so forth, was the beautiful, clear water. I tell you what, guys, 4 or 5 years ago, that water was murky, muddy, gray, and the fish are coming to the top trying to breathe. So, and we also ran across quite a few hikers, happy hikers. I'm glad I got the hikers right. And just really appreciated what we did. It was nice to hear. Just one other thing. I was asked a questionnaire from one of the reporters from the Advocate about the parking in downtown Aurora. I had to call and ask him, where do you think downtown Aurora is? We're talking about this section here. And I think we do still have a serious problem with public parking for the businesses, especially the slots that you pull in off of 483, head into like facing Mad Jack's. Those poor people have to back out on 483. And that's a feat in itself. I was wondering if there's any way we can erect signs directing the people to key locations, for example, public parking at Kiwanis Moore Park. I don't know where we'd set these signs, but just something to say, hey guys, there is parking back up here in this street here. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Grandillo?
Thank you. Briefly, I also want to thank all of you for coming. And as Dean said, please let us go through our process. I know it seems long. I know it seems arduous. We get these projects occasionally, and we need to go through the proper stages to get to the end. The applicant's having this meeting. I hope many of you will attend just to hear what they have to say. I know I'm going to go and hear what they have to say because I need everything I can get to make my decision. So again, thank you for coming. I've seen you all many times at planning, and I appreciate you coming there too. And we're not we're not rushing through anything either way. So we want you to be part of the process, and again, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll get to our executive session. And
Mr.
I'll
Horvat.
need a couple motions. Mr. Cudley?
Yes, I have two motions. The first is to enter into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 12122G8 to consider confidential information related to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a move and second. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Farmer?
Yes.
Ms. Grandella?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Okay, that motion is,
Mr. Kovich?
Yes.
that motion is carried.
Mr. Horvat, I have a second
sir.
motion to enter into an executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 12122G1 to consider the employment of a public employee.
Thank you. We have a move and second to do that. Ms. Hawks, please call the roll.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Farmer?
Yes.
Ms. Grandella?
Yes.
Mr. Hafford?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovich?
Yes.
There will be no action, and we will just stay in here. We'll just
Yes.
stay in here
Yeah.
because